Today's video is sponsored by Stamps.com. To print postage from home and put more life into your work-life balance, simply go to Stamps.com/companyman for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a free digital scale. The link is in the description. Reddit, known as the front page of the internet, is in fact one of the most popular websites in the United States. In 2018, it was big news when it surpassed Facebook to become the third most popular in the country, and it appears to have stayed high in the rankings ever since. At the end of 2023, it averaged 73 million daily active users, which is an insanely high number, and up significantly from the year before, though about half of those users are from the United States, with about 90% of the posts being written in English. So people from other countries around the world may not be as familiar with it. Reddit is a unique website that can be hard to describe. You really have to check it out to get the full experience, but primarily, I would say it is a place for people to share and discuss things with each other. In the beginning, it was primarily centered around news stories and current events, but it has evolved to include practically everything. Whatever you are interested in, type it into Reddit and I can almost guarantee that there will be forums about it. Something that stands out to me is that throughout its history, Reddit has encountered a lot of obstacles, and I have to respect how it has been able to continue pushing forward and growing to such a large scale. In this video, I want to talk about the history of Reddit while highlighting what I believe to be 5 of the more significant struggles that they have encountered. Starting off at the very beginning with an initial rejection, because Reddit was created as a result of a completely different business idea that was turned down by investors. The co-founders of Reddit are Alexis Ohanian and Steve Huffman. Today, Ohanian is no longer involved with Reddit, though he was the creator of their adorable alien mascot, Snoo. You know, Snoo, like it sounds like an abbreviated What's New, when he drew it while he was bored in a marketing class in college. I can't even estimate how many doodles have been made while someone was bored in a classroom over the years, and this right here, it has to be the most famous example of one. And many of the viewers may also recognize him as being the husband of tennis player Serena Williams. While Steve Huffman did leave the company for a few years, but returned in 2015 to lead it as CEO and has held that position ever since. The two met each other when they were assigned to be roommates at the University of Virginia. Leading into their senior year, they collaborated on a new business idea called My Mobile Menu. It was a mobile food ordering service where you can use your phone to order food in advance and then cut down on your wait time once you got to the restaurant. They spent a year working on it and were given the opportunity to present it to a notable investment team where they would hopefully be given money to further develop it, but they were rejected. I guess the team didn't see much potential for the concept, but they did believe in their ability to build a business. So Ohanian and Huffman were told to return with something new, and that is when they shifted their focus into building Reddit. It only took 3 weeks to create that initial site that logically started off as a basic version of how we know it is today. Essentially, it was a place where people could share links to various news stories, and then other users would upvote or downvote them, helping to ensure that the more attractive or relevant stories would make it to the top. Very much driven by users, so you can understand how much of an issue it was when I go back to my list and tell you that they have had trouble attracting users. When the site was launched in June of 2005, it almost couldn't function properly because nobody was on it. The co-founders resorted to creating fake profiles and using them to submit news articles simply to demonstrate how it worked and to make it seem like something was happening on there. In the words of Steve Huffman, if you show up to the site and it's blank, it looks like a ghost town. He says that it took almost 2 months before there was enough posts from actual users to fill up the front page. By the way, last year, the site averaged 1.2 million posts every day, and I would say that a lot of that growth can be attributed to modifications to the platform that not only made things easier and more attractive, but also helped develop its own culture. In December of that first year, they added the ability to leave comments, obviously an important addition, and it attracted the attention of Google. See, Google had just bought YouTube, and they were showing interest in buying Reddit to help power the YouTube comment section. However, the 4 people working at Reddit at the time declined the offer, stating it was mainly because they did not want to become Google employees. But they did accept an offer from a large media company for what seems to be around $10 to $20 million. Many would argue a low price for something so promising. Alexis Ohanian has since expressed regret over his decision, but says that a major contributor to it was that his mother had been recently diagnosed with terminal brain cancer that did end up killing her 2 years later, so a crazy time for him. him. But going back to Reddit itself, other additions that followed would be AMAs. It stands for Ask Me Anything, where typically somebody notable will sit on a computer and answer questions that were asked by Redditors. Potentially the most famous of these was held in 2012 by the US president at the time, Barack Obama. And I have to mention the creation of subreddits in 2008, like r/funny or whatever, where people with similar interests can come together. Going back to my list, another major struggle for Reddit was their core competitor, Dig. Now, I imagine that might be a name that you haven't heard in a long time, but trust me when I say that there was a time when they were completely overshadowing Reddit. When that sale to the media company happened in 2006, TechCrunch reported on it and described Reddit as a social news site that has always played second fiddle to Dig. By 2008, it was Dig that was now in negotiations to be acquired by Google for a reported $200 million. That deal never happened either, and just about represents their high point because things started going very badly for them. In 2010, they had this big redesign overhaul. They called it V4, and almost everybody hated it. Not to get too specific here, but they removed features, the voting process changed, it was glitchy, and people got so upset that they declared August 30th of that year as Quit Dig Day. Everyone on Dig started posting links to Reddit and then switching over, giving Reddit a giant spike in activity. I'm not trying to say that everyone switched over right then and there, but it is generally believed to be a turning point in the battle between the two of them. Within the year, Reddit had more than doubled their monthly page views to over 1 billion, while Dig was never quite the same. In 2012, it was sold off in 3 different parts that totaled to less than 10% of the value from that failed Google deal from before. For the next struggle on my list, it's going to be a big one because I'm going to group together their seemingly endless line of controversies. How many times have you seen a scandalous news story that has been connected to Reddit in some way? Yeah, I guess it's ironic that the news sharing website has found itself in the news so often. And I think a big reason behind it is that the people on Reddit can be pretty wild, to a point where they have developed a reputation for it. Unlike most other social media platforms, Redditors are anonymous. Well, they do have a username that they go by, so the company likes to call it pseudonymity, and that gives people the freedom to post things that they almost certainly wouldn't if their actual identity were attached. Meanwhile, moderation is done almost entirely by volunteers, so there are subreddits out there where you would not even believe what people are saying. It has led to issues regarding how to handle hate speech and harassment on the site, and then backlash from different groups on how they chose to handle it, so the whole thing has become touchy to even talk about. Some of the parts that stick out to me would be in 2015, they started banning some subreddits, notably r/fatpeoplehate, that would mainly just make fun of that community. In 2020, they banned a sizable Donald Trump subreddit, along with many others, for inciting violence and promoting hate. And then some other notable points of controversy would be Redditors misidentifying possible subjects in the Boston Marathon bombings in 2013. It was a subreddit that seemed to start with good intentions, but quickly spiraled into something very negative. In 2014, there was a giant leak of private celebrity nude photos. Reddit became one of the main places for people to share them, and that led to many subreddits being banned. And of course, I'm guessing most of the people probably remember all the craziness that went on with the price of GameStop stock in 2021. That all originated on a subreddit called Wall Street Bets. And there are countless other controversies. Those are just some of the bigger, more notable ones that stood out to me, and I promise all of this was meant to be an objective overview. I am not trying to get political and convince you of anything other than the controversial nature of Reddit. My final struggle on the list is the fact that Reddit has been losing money, and I mean consistently losing a lot of money, seemingly from the beginning. In March of 2024, Reddit had its long-awaited initial public stock offering. It was the first IPO from a major social media platform since Pinterest had done it almost 5 years earlier. Documents filed in relation to that offering finally confirmed to the public that Reddit is not a profitable company. It has lost almost $250 million in the last 2 years before that offering, admittedly moving in the right direction over that time, but likely still not going to report a profit anytime soon. They even included a statement in their filing that said, "We have incurred substantial losses during our history and may never achieve profitability." Over the years, Reddit has been kept alive by its parent company early on, and then by multiple rounds of funding, totaling to over $1 billion. Many of them notable investors who believe in the future of the company and its ability to eventually turn a profit, like the co-founder of PayPal, Peter Thiel, and the rapper Snoop Dogg. Not to mention everyone who invested on the stock market, giving it a multi-billion-dollar valuation on that first day. And I know, you might be saying that it can take time to make money, and a period of losses can be expected when trying to establish a business, but remember, Reddit is approaching 20 years old. Throughout that time, it has been difficult for them to generate enough revenue because advertisements have been tricky. easy. On the plus side, the subreddits do make it easier for companies to target their ads to the appropriate people, but then on the negative side, a lot of companies do not want their ads connected to such wild content. All of those controversies I just mentioned make potential investors apprehensive, and then the anonymity of the users further complicates things. Meanwhile, Redditors have made it very clear that they do not want a bunch of ads interrupting their experience, so the company has to be tactful about it or potentially find other sources of revenue, but they haven't been too successful with that so far. Their biggest effort, from what I can see, was launching a premium service in 2010, where today you could pay $5.99 a month to eliminate the ads, get special outfits for your alien avatar, along with other benefits, but as of 2023, advertisements still make up 98% of their revenue. Looking forward, the company believes that data licensing can become a significant source. In early 2024, Google agreed to pay $60 million to essentially get access to the billions of comments and posts on Reddit. They want to use them to help train their artificial intelligence models. However, that $60 million is still only a small percentage of their revenue. That was $800 million in total last year. So I don't know, it still really seems like they're going to have to figure something out a little better with those advertisements if they're going to have a bright future and not disappoint all of those investors. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about Reddit? Is it a great place to discuss news topics and connect with people with similar thoughts and interests, or is it an upsetting environment that you do your best to avoid? To me, in the end, it mostly depends on what part of it you go to, right? Also, what do you see for the future of the company? The user base is already strong, so are they going to figure out how to better capitalize on it, or do you think it's impractical? And any other thoughts you have about Reddit, leave them in the comments. I'd like to hear what you have to say. Stamps.com is today's sponsor, a service that I highly recommend, especially for anyone who runs a business. For anyone doing that, I am sure that I do not have to remind you how stressful and time-consuming it can be, leaving little time for you to do anything else, right? Well, that right there is where Stamps.com can help by streamlining your postage needs, making your business more efficient, and leaving you more time to go out there and live your life. All you need is a computer and a printer to take care of mailing and shipping wherever you are, day or night, even on the go with the Stamps.com mobile app. It is like your 24/7 post office, but without the lines, the traffic, or the waiting, and all of it with rates that you cannot find anywhere else, like up to 89% off USPS and UPS. To get started, all you have to do is go to stamps.com/companyman for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a free digital scale. Be sure to click the link that is in the description. Thank you for watching.